On all of this, Congressman Andre Carson is joining us. He's a Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Wolf.
So you have special insight. How do these revelations about Jared Kushner, Michael Flynn affect the investigation being conducted by your Intelligence Committee and by others, for that matter, in Congress?
What I will say this, it raises additional concerns. It raises concerns about how much coordination was taking place. And, you know, Russia, very skilled at manipulating individuals globally for their ultimate gain. And I think that Russia has been genius at manipulating people and taking advantage of their naivete to further their objectives. So
do you think that Jared Kushner and General Flynn were naive?
I'm not at liberty to speak on those matters at this time, Wolf, but I will say that it is very troubling, very concerning, the close relationship that both Kushner and Flynn has had with the Russians.
But I just want to be precise, and obviously we don't want you to release any classified information, but I'm sort of intrigued. Are you suggesting there's information you have right now about all of this that you can't necessarily share?
I'm not at liberty to comment, sir.
Even comment on that?
No, sir.
All right, so I'll assume the answer is yes. But let me move on. Now that Robert Mueller has taken control of this overall investigation, as you know, he was appointed the special counsel. He's a former FBI director. Some lawmakers, some of your colleagues have complained that congressional investigations will be stifled in the process because of his supposed criminal investigation. Do you share that concern?
Both investigations will take place independently. Robert Mueller has a great reputation, having served under both President Bush and President Obama. He's very respected within the Bureau. And the congressional investigations have gotten us to this point, and I think those investigations will continue.
Well, will they be slowed down or stifled because he doesn't want those investigations in the House and the Senate to interfere with his investigation?
I think Robert Mueller will conduct his own investigation, honestly, from scratch. It won't impede the congressional investigations that are taking place right now. And I think that this multi-pronged approach is actually healthy for our country and to really keep our democracy alive.
Do you expect the fired FBI Director James Comey to still testify in public? He suggested he wants to consult with the new special counsel.
We'll see. Director Comey has a great reputation as well within the Bureau, and I think that he is someone who is very disciplined. He's someone of, many believe, of high integrity, and I think that any contribution that he could make to further this investigation will be most beneficial.
But you have no assurances that he will still go ahead and testify in open session in the coming days, as he earlier had expressed their readiness to do?
Sure, that remains to be seen. I'm hopeful to hear. I'm excited about hearing what he has to say.
I think all of us are excited to hear about what he has to say. As you also know, the former CIA Director John Brennan, he expressed concern last week that some Americans may have been led down what he described as a treasonous path by Russian spies, either knowingly or even unknowingly. Do you believe Jared Kushner may have been a target of Russian intelligence services?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. I think Director Brennan, and I actually attended that hearing, Director Brennan has decades of service in the CIA, so he would know best. Personally, I come from Indiana Department of Homeland Security, was a police officer with the State Excise Police. I understand how criminals work on a local, state, and national level. And if you look at the global perspective, I think Russia has been a leader in terms of counterintelligence and espionage.
Should Kushner have his security clearances suspended?
I think his clearance should be under review as we speak. I think the actions that were taken were inappropriate, were questionable, and I think it calls for us to really review his security clearance to ultimately determine whether or not it should be revoked.
Some have suggested that the Russian ambassador here in Washington, Sergei Kislyak, could have been exaggerating Kushner and Flynn's request, or even purposely sending out information, knowing the U.S. might be listening in, wanting to create some chaos, if you will. Do you take that possibility seriously?
In the game of spies, distractions, lies, diversions are regular order. So it's difficult to say at this point, but it's the order of the day in this game of spying and counterintelligence.
Do you believe Kushner was simply unaware how risky, how unusual this request was, if in fact he did make that kind of request for a back channel using Russian embassy communications equipment to deal with the Kremlin?
It's difficult to say if he even cared. Again, the Russians have brought a lot to our world history, but most importantly, they, second to the United States of America, have been pretty good at this spy game, and baiting people and baiting people into their ultimately web of deception.
Stand by, Congressman.
I think the fact that
go ahead. Finish your thought first.
I think the fact that there has been obvious interference by the Russian government in our electoral process raises questions about why even Mr. Kushner would even participate in even seeking a back channel to the Russian government. Very questionable.
Yeah, it wasn't just Kushner. Remember, it was General Flynn, who was the top national security advisor to the president-elect as well, a man with enormous intelligence experience, the former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. So he didn't come in from the real estate business. He came in from the intelligence community into this entire process. A lot of experience there. All right, stand by, Congressman Carson. We have more to discuss.